Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be ranking all 104 brawlers in the game right now, from the very worst all the way to the very best. So it's only been a couple of days since the meta dropped, but I think it's quite obvious which brawlers are the outliers, which brawlers are the worst inside of the game as well. So I'm going to give you guys the best and put them in a tier list, just because, again, I've been playing the game a ton, and yeah, there's no better place on YouTube than here in terms of meta tier list. So make sure you guys are subscribed for all future content. And without further ado, let's jump into the F tier. So starting off in the F tier, we have Gigi. She deserves her own tier at the moment. I mean, there will be a few Gigi memes like, oh, but this is the best Gigi meta ever. You have Meg, you have Max, you have 8-bit, blah, 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 blah. No, Gigi is still terrible. Please stop playing her. Next up in the F tier, we have Grom. So Grom is so broken that he has to be nerfed pretty much every update, it feels like. But yeah, Grom isn't good in pro play. I don't even think Grom has to be that good in casual play either. He's not good. Next one in the F tier, we have Jackie. So Jackie is receiving a buff pretty soon to her health, but I don't think that's really going to do anything anyways, even when that balance change drops. Like maximum D tier, she's not good. Next one in the F tier, we have Jessie. So another brawler in the F tier that's going to be receiving a buff pretty soon, and Jessie's getting a projectile speed buff, which could honestly bump her up to maybe like C tier when this drops, but for now she absolutely is F tier. Primo's next in the F tier. So Primo is just being completely power crept by Damien. Damien's just a much easier version of Primo when you think about it. Yeah, you don't even use Primo to counter tanks in Brawl anymore. He's really fallen off. Sam is next in the F tier. Could easily be one of the worst brawlers inside of the game. The only saving grace is that his hypercharge is pretty strong, but there's just far too many brawlers with so many buffies, damage buffs, whatever you want to call it, that just outclass Sam so easily. Next we have Mr. P. So Mr. P is easily an F tier brawler. I don't even know whether he's broken in casual play anymore. You guys will have to let me know. But it takes forever to get his super. It takes forever to get his hype charge. His hype charge isn't even good anymore. He's just terrible. And lastly in the F tier, we have Bonnie. So Bonnie is receiving a big damage buff pretty soon, which might see her leapfrog the meta quite high, maybe even up to the B tier. To be honest, it's a really big damage buff, but right now, she's basically unusable. So those were your F tier brawlers in the meta, the worst of the worst. Pretty much never use them. I mean, there might be the odd niche situation, but now moving on to the D tier. So speaking of niche, again, these brawlers are only really playable in just really like weird situations. Start off with Miko. So Miko, when it's below masters in heist, no one knows how to counter Miko. So again, depending on your level, Miko might feel a lot stronger, and he does pair well with Kit inside of knockout, but I think Miko outside of pit stop in pro play, it's just not really that usable. And the same goes for Chuck. Every single update I've got to put him in D tier because he's still a problem in heist. There's ways to counter him, but it's still Chuck. He's still good in heist. Doug is next in the D tier, and it feels like he's lost a lot of his cheese, especially since they fixed the interaction with Janet, where you could give Janet a hypercharge super and it just rain damage from the sky. I just don't really see too much Doug anymore, because with Doug you normally pick into low damage compositions, but everyone just has damage at the moment. So Bo is back in the D tier, and again, depending on where you are, for most players in the game, they probably feel like Bo is a good brawler, but we're talking about pro play here. Above, I don't know, well, above masters easily, Bo just isn't played whatsoever. Not even in hot zone really anymore. There was like a couple of months ago, pros would still go Bo in hot zone. You don't even see it there anymore. I mean, his hypercharge buffies is only saving grace. Outside of that, I mean, the totem can be okay as well, but he's so easy to counter. Daryl is next in the D tier, and it doesn't feel like Daryl's like completely useless, but it's just, again, he's got power crept completely by so many different assassins in the game, and he's only really good as a late pick, like super late pick in some heist maps and knockout situations, and even then I'm not even seeing pros pick him. Rosa is next in the D tier. So Rosa, again, another brawler where if a lot of things have got to go your way if you want to go Rosa. They've got to be like no wall break, low DPS, no grass break as well, you know, like an Amber or something. Low vision brawlers that aren't good with the vision gear. And even then, you'd still probably rather go a tank brawler, but at least she has a small niche. Maisie's next in the D tier. Nothing changes about Maisie. She's completely trash. Bobby, please. I mean, I've not heard him speak about Maisie too much anymore, but I think he's finally realized, maybe. Dynamite is next in the D tier. So honestly, I've not really seen too many pros play Dynamite yet, and I've not played too much of him. He does actually feel a little bit better, But again, take a look at so many of the meta brawlers. They just tend to overwhelm Dynamite too easily. He just doesn't really have those pop-off moments anymore. Next one in D tier, we have Tick. So Tick, again, below Masters, he probably still is pretty relevant in the bounty and the knockout meta. But if you play Tick whatsoever in rank right now, you will be punished. His reload speed is so slow. His damage isn't what it used to be. Before, you could always rely on Tick in those knockout and bounty situations. Now you can just go max. I don't know, there's so many meta brawlers that you can just overrun Tick with easily. Next one in D tier, we have Frank. So I feel like I might be slightly harsh putting Frank in the D tier. But again, you don't really see him being played out. Is this brawler where if the enemy has a couple of low DPS brawlers, well, you can get a really good Frank game, especially on a couple of the hot zone maps. But outside of that, I don't really see him being played too much. So that's why I'm putting him in D tier. He's very, very niche. Yes, he can work. It's not like he's terrible or unusable, but there's just so many better options. Pam is next in the D tier. So again, another one that I might feel like it's a little bit harsh because I have a sweet spot for Pam. You know, she's nice and thick, but you know, Pam can still be like a good gem carry, good safe one, you know, hot zone some situations. But now with, you know, 8-bit and Lou in particular being very strong in the hot zone meta, it's making Pam a lot less usable. Lodo's next in the D tier. So she had that bug which made her like a high B tier brawler in the meta. Funny enough, she was banned in pro play a couple of months just because, again, of this bug. If you guys weren't unaware, her ego dealt more damage than Lola herself, and that still wasn't even enough to put Lola in like the A or S tier. So they could have maybe just made that bug a permanent thing. But yeah, she's back in the D tier. Mandy's next in the D tier. Again, might be slightly harsh on Mandy, but I'm not going to be one of these YouTubers that does a tier list and then just because a brawler got a buff, just automatically bump them up through tiers. That's just very lazy meta analysis. I just don't think Mandy's that great. Again, after using her a few times, yes, she's got more damage, but you can still overrun a Mandy so easily. Take a look at the meta brawlers. Right now, you got like Damien, you got Max, you got Bolt, you got Meg, you got Starnova, you got all of these brawlers that will just run into Mandy. You can't do anything. You got Niger, Piper, like so many Pierce, so many snipers that are better than Mandy. Hank is next in the D tier, so it pains for me to put him down here, but he just doesn't really have the oomph to survive in this meta. I think with the universal health buff, it really hurt Hank in the long run because he was one of the only few brawlers that didn't receive a health buff, maybe even the only brawler that didn't receive one. So as time has gone on, I mean, he's been pretty much permanently stuck in his C tier since then. Yes, there's a few cases where you compare him with like a Berry, Poker, maybe a Grey in hot zone. Outside of that, I don't know where to use him. Next up, we have Juju. So again, another brawler which received the buff, but again, would be very lazy for me to say, oh, Juju's better, she's received the buff, right? No, she's just not better. Because the health buff to Gree is nice, but what, it makes maybe a few brawlers take an extra piece of ammo maybe to destroy it. That's just not going to do anything in the long run, really. Just because it takes a while for Juju to even get her super. She's still very vulnerable to any sort of aggression. There's just no point using Juju. Ziggy is next in the D tier, so he really felt the nerfs a couple of months ago where, yeah, he was pretty actually, I think he was broken, secretly broken, especially as a last pick. He was basically uncounterable. So what they did is they nerfed the projectile unload speed, which they're trying to find like a sweet spot for him, but any type of change to his main attack, just like Grom, seems to just send him straight back down to the D tier. So maybe they can buff him in other areas because it's still okay, but it just doesn't really have any oomph in him. So Clancy is next in the D tier, so it pains for me to say because I don't mind Clancy when he's in the meta. On ladder, he can be toxic, and he's still probably okay on ladder, right? Because people are just going to feed your supers. But in ranked, it's just so easy to counter Clancy. It takes too long to ramp up. And when he ramps up, because of that range nerf he received a couple of months ago, it's just not that impactful. So I'd like to see a few more tweaks for Clancy. Hopefully there'll be a meta where he's actually balanced. And lastly, in the D tier, we have Shelly. So I'll be interested to see whether she gets any more usage in the meta, but I don't think she really will. There's a couple of small buffs to her, which may feel a little bit better, but still, there's just way better anti-tanks in the meta. So those were your D tier brawlers in the meta. Like I said, most of them are pretty niche, but not absolutely horrible. Now moving on to C tiers, so most of these are pretty balanced, or if anything, just need like a small buff to bring them to the top of the meta. Starting off with Willow, so I did actually put her wrong in this tier list. She probably should be at the top of the C tier or bottom of B tier. Willow is always a funny one because the pros don't mind going Willow quite often because she's good on like brawlable maps because she's still good into aggressive brawlers, but I just think she's very overrated because you can just pretty much pick any other thrower into Willow and it's still going to work out pretty fine. So yeah, me personally, I've always thought Willow's overrated. Next one to C tier, we have a Buster. So again, another one of those brawlers that tends to every now and then pop up in the draft. mainly in pro play when there's so many bans. You know, he can be okay, but there just isn't really a moment in the meta where I think, oh, Buster's just an insane counter. Maybe into like an alley, or maybe he's going to find a small niche now. There's a lot of like brawlers that shoot a lot of projectiles at the top of the meta, but he's just not great. Janet is next on the C tier and could be slipping down to the D tier pretty soon, because you're not even really seeing Janet in gem grab anymore. So where is she good in? She's lost again that weird niche with Doug in the meta, and Kit as well. You can't even do that cheese anymore. So honestly, yeah, could be D tier. Next one on C tier, we have Eve. So Eve's always a weird one, because it seems like there's just this constant circle of Eve in pro play where she just seems like she never gets played, and then all of a sudden she's like the best pick in Bridge Too Far and out in the open again, and then people realize, okay, she's not actually that good. All she does is float on water. Like, her super isn't good, her main attack's easy to dodge. So yeah, never really understand it with Eve. She's just very mid. What was this next in the C tier? So you got a couple of small buffs, but I don't think that was enough to really push him any higher in the meta. In pro play, he's still like an okay option into like a few brawlers to counter them, but specifically like he's good in pit stop, and that's really about it. Squeak is next in the C tier, so I think Squeak is starting to go even further down in the meta now, because when you think of a good controller last pick, there's a few brawlers that have received buffs that are just ahead of him in the pecking order. So yeah, he might be okay in knockout, but that's really about it. Trunk is next in the C tier, so I really like Trunk in specific situations against Mortis, against Damien, maybe against a few other assassins. But outside of that, he's not the greatest. He's got a strong gadget and a really strong hypercharge, but not that usable other than that. Larry and Laurie are next in the C tier. So again, another buff I'm kind of undecided about right now, because both of his buffs weren't really that impactful. So I'm going to plop him in the C tier, because again, I've not really had too much time to test him out. I don't think he's going to be game changing, and again, I've not really seen him in scrims at all, taking a look at the data, so I don't think he's that much better. Gale is next in the C tier. So Gale did receive one buff. I think Gale's just, again, one of these brawlers in pro play you might see him played a little bit, because other anti-tanks and tank counters just get banned out. So you've got Gale that can still do a job, and it's mainly map specific. You need the map to be a little bit open. Actually, pinhole punt is just his dream, because it's so open, there's so much grass to cover, but it's just okay. Next one on C tier, we have B. So B isn't really been played in pro play for about 3 months now, I'd say. I don't know what it is about it. I think her gadgets just take so long. Like, one gadget's just basically useless, and the other gadget just takes such a long cooldown for it to really do anything. It's just too risky to use B for not enough reward. Barley's next in the C tier, and after trying him out a little bit, I will say Barley's back as a last pick option. In the previous meta, he just wasn't. Again, he's got to mainly be last pick, because there's still Mortis, Edgar, Damon that you've got to worry about, Bolt that you've got to worry about inside of the meta. But yeah, I think the projectile speed buffs to his hype charge and his super feel really nice. Bull is next in the C tier, so there are some pop-off moments still to be had with Bull, but those last nerfs I received, what was it, a couple of updates ago, they really put him back in his place and made him a lot more balanced, because Bull in his previous state was completely done broken. So yeah, there are some plays he can have, like a heist, or maybe some situations to counter, I don't know, like a Mortis, maybe Edgar, maybe Shade, those types of compositions, but yeah, he's rarely used anymore. Berry is next in the C tier. So again, another brawler I see pop up every now and then in scrims, to be honest. You see a lot of humble Berry from Lukey, and a few other teams do like the Berry, especially in heist, but again, he's one of these brawlers that's only really picked towards the end of the draft, and you need a good synergy. BB is next in the C tier, so this is a good spot for BB, and she's been really balanced for the last couple of months. Like, she's not terrible, but she's more, again, of like a niche pick, where she's picked on certain maps in heist or into certain matchups. Well, basically any map with a abundance of walls, BB can still be used pretty well. She's still got 2 knockbacks, still got a really strong hypercharge, but again, she's very limited in her range. So yeah, perfect balanced C tier. Melody is next in the C tier, and to be honest, I always struggle to play Melody. I know it's probably a skill issue, but I've just never really seen why she's picked even that often in heist. Yes, she can be a great counter to Kaze, and even like Bolt, funny enough, in heist, and Chuck, but I think good players, especially, there's just so many anti-tank or just good defenders in heist now, it's hard to really make Melody work. Ollie is next in the C tier, so down, like, the time has kind of gone for Ollie, where about 3-4 months ago, Ollie was still seen as like a really good last pick in knockout. Yeah, there's still a few situations where it can work out, but it's basically, you'd just rather go Damon for that reason. Because with Ollie, the only way he works is you just take a lot of damage, You gain your super for free, you gain your hypercharge free, and then you just win one round for his hypercharge super. But you may as well just go Damien now, because once you get one super, you can actually make an impact. All he requires is hypercharge. Sandy is next in the C tier, so I never know where to realistically put Sandy, because again, one of these brawlers that's not the worst. Like, I see Sandy played a lot on like Harder at Mine, Double Swoosh, but if he's only good on 2 maps, can you really make a case for him to be any higher than B tier maximum? He can't really, so yeah, pretty niche brawler. Draco's next in the C tier, and it might even be putting him too high, putting him in C tier. Seems to be getting buffs every other update, and it's just still not enough to put Draco back in the top of the meta. Yes, you can play him in like Ring of Fire and maybe a few other instances, but there's just so many other brawlers now that just do too much work to Draco. Tara's next in the C tier, and I will say, after trying Tara a few times, I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's mainly probably because of the meta around her. I don't know, it just feels like I'm playing Tara and everything's just flashing by me. I don't know, I feel like me right now, like I'm an unk, and there's just too many things jumping off. I don't even know. But the biggest problem really is that Tara isn't even that great into a lot of the better tanks or assassins. Normally Tara can do pretty well into them, but you know, Damien, for example, it's the freest matchup ever for Damien into a Tara. You know, Bolt's not even that bad into Tara. Edgar can kill Tara, Mortis can kill Tara, so she's just not great into the assassin kind of meta. So Jaeyoung is next in the C tier, so he always has a sweet spot in my heart, because when it comes down to like LAN, or when it comes down to the competitive gameplay, Jaeyoung can always be a great option in Bounty and Knockout, but his job's got a lot harder now because Max is at the top of the meta. I don't want to spoil it, but it's very obvious. So just like how Jaeyoung just kind of removed Max from the meta for a little while, well, Max with all these buffies, what is kind of the point of going Jaeyoung? You just get all the pressure from Max for free. And lastly in the C tier, I went with Nani. So I felt a little bit harsh putting Nani in the C tier, but it'll become very evident with the top meta brawlers as to why I think Nani has dropped off a lot, because there's a lot of fast-paced aggro brawlers in the Bounty and Knockout meta now, whereas before, I think for a very long time, Nani's been super consistent because of that big damage buff she received like some time ago. So now it's kind of falling down, but it's only because of the meta around her. So those are your C tier brawlers in the meta. Like I said, pretty balanced, and again, you can play them quite comfortably in a lot of different situations. Now moving over to your B tier. So starting off with Piper. So I actually really like the damage buffs with Piper. My biggest issue that I feel like she might fall into the trap again of just a super slow reload speed, and all of these aggressive brawlers might be too much for her. But I do definitely anticipate once these buffy brawlers do get nerfed, she could even be maybe a small... I mean, I think beta is probably fair, to be honest. The damage buff really did help her out. She can 2-tap a lot of different brawlers now, so yeah, let's see where she lands in like a week. Amber is next in the B tier, so I wanted to put Amber in the C tier, but a lot of NA just seem to really like Amber, mainly because she's good to play when you're on high ping, but I think her time is pretty much up in the meta. I think she's been ultra consistent, like A tier brawler for a very, very long time, but I just think there's just a lot of better lane brawlers out there. Yeah, she can still do a job on a couple of hot zone maps, a couple of gem grab maps, but there's always a better option. Sprout is next in the B tier. So Sprout, I really anticipate that he'll be such a strong last pick brawler inside of this meta. After trying him a couple of times in ranked, I was very pleasantly surprised just how good the buffs felt to his reload speed and his damage. I believe they both make a big impact, especially in Knockout and Bounty. He's not going to be anything crazy again, only last pick because of Edgar's bolts, etc. But he's a danger again. Next one, a B tier, I went with Gus. So I desperately wanted to put him in the C tier, but when I think about it, like, Gus isn't that bad, but he's just not great either. Like, when you take a look at Bounty and Knockout, just so many brawlers get picked ahead of him now, but he's still like a safe option, if that makes sense. I think once Wendy comes out, like, Gus will be pretty irrelevant. A lot of people saying, oh, Gus can still do his own thing, but I think it will be pretty irrelevant. Yeah, so I think he's probably the worst he's been for a long while. Poco's next in the B tier. So Poco is just the perfect brawler, I would say, in terms of you need good team synergy. Of course, you do. He's a support brawler, but you normally pick Poco in combination with a lot of different brawlers. And now because Lou has returned a bit more to the meta, and there's a few other brawlers that Poco's gadget can just really good at cleansing against, he's still great in hot zone, and again pairs really well with like Damien and a few other brawlers. So yeah, I think Poco's still pretty decent. Leon is next in the B tier. So I think as time goes on, I think he will start dropping down the meta now. That lollipop drop gadget nerf was really big. it expires much quicker now, but it's still such a fantastic gadget. So I think it's just literally a gadget alone. Yes, he's got like a good hypercharge, but I think his time is slowly running out. Mo is next in the B tier, so one of the most underrated brawlers inside of the meta. People always forget about Mo, whether it's Brawl or Gem Grab, because it's just more flashier, interesting brawlers to go. Yes, he's kind of fallen down the pecking order a little bit, but so have a lot of other brawlers because of his buffy brawlers. But you can always rely on a Mo. Once those brawlers banned out, Mo's a consistent pick. It's mainly because of his hypercharge, so that's definitely keeping him at the top of the meta. Lily is next in the B tier, and I feel like you can never put Lily away from the B tier right now. Yes, there's better assassins, but her hypercharge is still very strong. Her vanish gadget is still very strong. She can still deal a lot of damage and deal a lot of work, especially in Gem Grab in particular. You can just always be a nuisance to the enemy gem carrier. So B's pretty solid for her. RT is next in the B tier. So again, I'm starting to see RT being used a little bit less, and honestly could be creeping down to the C tier, but he's still got a very strong hypercharge. He can still be pretty effective on like parallel plays and ranked, but mainly knockout and bounty. But I'm starting to see him used a lot less now because there's starting to be a lot better sniper options. Gray is next in the B tier, and you might slowly start to see him become like an A tier brawler again. But that's dependent on whether he'll be a good bounty option, a knockout option. I'm not really seeing it just yet, mainly because like Brock, Max, etc. just better options. But yeah, Gray definitely feels a bit better, but not anything crazy. Fang is next in the B tier, so he's one of the only brawlers I really missed out on the previous meta in terms of not really reading how good of a buff that health buff was to him. So he's became like such a strong brawler in knockout and bounty, and in specific to counter other assassins like Mortis, for example. So yeah, it's got a good use case in this meta. Next one to B tier, we have Ash. So truthfully, I don't know where he completely lies in the meta. The pros don't seem to absolutely love Ash, but he could be one of these ones where he slowly builds up in the meta. It's probably because there's so many broken buffies in the meta that's stopping Ash perform. But I think once those buffy brawlers are nerfed, I think we could be seeing him creep up to the A tier. Penny's next in the B tier, so probably one of the most perfectly balanced brawlers when you think about it, because Penny's only really good as like a control option, and especially to maybe like counter like Meeple, Charlie, especially in safe zone, really good. Only really good as a later option again in hot zone because she does have low damage. But the turret can definitely be a big threat. Colt is next in the B tier. So we see this weird spot for Colt where in pro play, there's like other, sometimes it can be only Colt that's left in terms of wall break options, like Brock's banned out or there's some other brawlers. But I feel like now with Piper getting a buff, and again Brock being one of the best brawlers in the game, I'm seeing probably Colt a little bit less. He's still like a great option inside of Heist, but that's really about it. Nita is next in the B tier. Could be a low A tier brawler as well. The biggest thing, there's a couple of reasons why. Hypercharge Buffy is one of the best hypercharges inside of the game. It's absolutely insane. And then you've got the gadget Faux 4, which allows you to tank a shot, especially against a Damien in particular. So Nita's used for that reason, to counter Damien, to counter maybe other assassins like Mortis. Can be pretty good, still good in Heist as well. So yeah, Nita's decent. Carl is next in the B tier. So Carl, again, another one where it's pretty hard to judge where he is completely in the meta because so many broken brawlers, but the damage buff does feel pretty nice, and that's going to skyrocket him quite far up the meta. Could even be like a low A tier brawler inside of the meta. He's very versatile, and yeah, he's definitely back. Bella's next in the B tier. So another one of these snipers that over time just seems to be getting a bit weaker. Once the buffies come out, I definitely expect her to rise again, but she's probably the most consistent brawler ever in Brawl Stars history. She's always reliable. You can pretty much, you know, in ranked, as a free-to-play player, just play her in a lot of different situations, no matter the meta. Yeah, basically good in bounty in a few heist maps right now, but yeah, she's starting to get worse. Rico is next in the B tier, so I forgot where I placed him in the last tier list, but it might have been B or C tier. He hasn't really got that much better with buffies. A lot of people call him nerfies because yeah, it's not really that great in terms of his gadgets. I think in ranked, well, just in draft in general, it's a lot easier to counter Rico now. Yes, he's got buffies, and I think the hyper extension does feel pretty nice on Rico, but that's about it. Pearl is next in the B tier. So Pearl's recent buffs actually made her a lot more viable inside of Knockout, and then she received even more buffs last update, which has just made her feel like such a great option again. It feels like the Pearl that can be used outside of Knockout and Bounty now. Like, you can play her in a few gem grab maps like Double Swoosh again. So she's definitely back in the meta where she belongs. Cordelius is next in the B tier. So if you was to ask me at the end of the last meta where he was, I would actually say he's a solid A tier brawler because pros pretty much using him all the time to counter kit combinations or Damien, for example, one of the biggest shutdowns to Damien. But outside of that, yeah, he's just like a... If you just really need to hyper counter one brawler, you can always rely off Cordelius. Next on the B tier, we have Kenji. So again, you can always rely off Kenji in pro play. All of these other assassins tends to get picked up, and Kenji's always left free. Again, could easily be like a low A tier brawler. There's so many maps. Like Kenji's one of these brawlers that literally epitomizes Bobby's word of space makeup, because it's literally all about creating pressure with a Kenji on triple dribble, pinball dreams, you name the map, he can just apply pressure by himself. And lastly in the B tier, we have Sirius. So Sirius is a funny one because I've not really been seeing him for the last few weeks. Is he just completely terrible? Is he underrated? I don't know. When I play Sirius, he's okay, but he's another one of these brawlers where he's only a good last pick option when there's multiple tanks. Sirius just doesn't feel great anymore, so maybe I'm overrating him a bit. So now moving on to your A tier brawlers in the meta. These are some of the best brawlers inside of the game, and starting off with Stu. So Stu kind of magically appeared at the top of the meta again after he'd been falling off for some time, but I think the meta suits him pretty well. Maybe not with the buffies completely, but I still feel like it's a strong A tier brawler inside of pro play, definitely, because with Stu you can be pretty safe and going in as like a gem grab mid. You can be safe going in into multiple of those other lane brawlers, like for example a lot of people will still go and counter in Otis and Chester. Well, Stu's good into that, you know, he's pretty decent into Edgar and Mortis as well, so yeah, you're seeing a lot more Stu. Angelo's next in the A tier. Honestly, could be dropping a bit towards the B tier now because of Piper's interactions. I believe Piper can 2-tap an Angelo now, but Angelo's still pretty good in pro play. You don't see a ton of Angelo in like Heist anymore, but you see him a lot in Bounty. Well, no, in Knockout in particular. So yeah, he's not really the Heist brawler that he used to be. Next one in A tier, we have Shade. So Shade did receive quite a heavy nerf to his hypercharge rate, but I still don't think they fixed the problem with Shade that he can just cycle through his supers like crazy. So if you're a good Shade player, you can just destroy and take over the map. Next one in A tier, we have Kit. So the Kit cheese is not stopping inside of this meta. Received no nerfs, funny enough, and I think Kit metas are really cheesy, especially in Bounty and Knockout. There's so many times where just in ranked pro play, a combination with Mortis, Kaze, Mina, anything, any Kit and assassin or tank just leads to a win, because it's the healing that you get with Kit is insane. And then in gem grab and a few other situations, Kit with the hypercharge is absolutely broken as well. So Kit is so good. Next one in A tier, we have Spike. So this is more of a prediction. Again, not really had enough data with Spike in particular to really see where he's at in the meta, but I think the damage buff should put him back into the meta. I'm gonna say like around B tier, maybe is where he sits, but I think he's in, like, he feels good, not like anything crazy, but he feels great. Like his hypercharge is still exceptional, and I think he might be one that slept on. So now talking about slept on brawlers, absolutely the most underrated brawler right now is Glowy. So I know Freddy's probably watching, but if you watch my streams, Freddy's been constantly banging on about Globert for a long time, and actually he was right for once. So Globert, very, very underrated. So he's good in a lot of different situations. See him a lot in pro play when like the map's opened up. Hot Zone in particular, very good. Heist in particular, very good. He needs like a strong pairing, but at the same time, Globert's good because he cycles through supers pretty effectively. He's one of the support brawlers that can actually defend himself. Yeah, you've got to try out Glowy. He's very slept on. Next one at A tier, we have Ali. So another one of these assassins where you can easily put on A or B tier. The reason why I put back in the A tier is because she's just such a big threat on so many maps as a last pick. Like there's so many situations I learned, especially even just playing one match Reno. It's like, well, you can't have two snipers or two low damage brawlers because the enemy will just last pick an Ali. So yeah, she's a big threat. Next one in A tier, we have Charlie. So seeing her usage rate drop a little bit since the new buffies came out, but again, once the meta settles a bit, she'll just be back to where she was. She was going to receive a damage buff, but they definitely did a good job of reverting that, and definitely highlighted that there's no point really buffing Charlie just yet because she still seems in a really good spot, and I was going to give her a substantial damage buff as well, so I'm glad we didn't do that. She's just a pretty balanced brawler. Next one in A tier, we have Finks. So Finks just seems to be permanently stuck in and around here. Again, one of these brawlers where if you're looking at a free-to-play player, he's perfect to max out. He's always at the top of the meta, so always one of the best Hot Zone brawlers. His super literally is one of the literally made for that game mode. But then you're seeing Finks a lot more in like Heist to counter the Kazes or the Melodies, and you're seeing him as like a gem carrier now. So that's when you know thinks it's good in the meta when he's good in other modes other than Hot Zone. Next one here we have Gene, our trusted buddy Gene. If you've watched my YouTube shorts, you'd know I'm the best Gene inside it, like in the whole world. I hit every Gene pull, right? It's not even just about Gene's pulls that make him good. He's just offers good healing with his teammates. He's scouting with his vision gear. And he's just a constant threat because once you build up one super, most of the time you should be able to hit him. Next one, the 8 tier, we still have Ems. So Ems hasn't received any nerfs. Eventually, she probably will get power crept as time goes on, but she's still a fantastic brawler right now. She pairs really well with Gray inside of Hot Zone. She's a strong brawler in Gem Grab, really strong in the Brawl Ball meta right now. Easy A tier. And Kaze still remains in the A tier as well. She's still such a big threat in Heist. Good player, good Kaze players as well can play them in a lot of different situations. We see Sans on Kaze in weird situations like Hot Zone. I don't know, like she's just such a good pressure brawler. She's solid A tier. Next one, 8 tier, we have Nigeria. So honestly, she could be a little bit worse off now. Well, a lot more worse off. I put her in the S tier and tried her a few times again, and I was like, okay, she's just not S tier anymore because what they did, I was scared that they didn't do it. So if you guys didn't know, when you throw out Nigeria snakes, she would just deal damage the second you just even lands near an opponent. It would deal so much damage. I think they might have completely removed that. Again, I need to test it out, but I've just got so many interactions I had to test out. But it just felt like her super just had nowhere near of an impact as it used to. And anyway, she's getting power crept with a lot of strong brawlers. So anticipate her definitely being an 8 tier brawler. Next one at 8 tier, we have Mina. So she's definitely drops off a lot and could even drop off a bit more because of the buffy brawlers. But it's only going to be like this for maximum a week, right? But Mina's still great. The combo damage nerf definitely did hurt her. But I think it's more so actually just the meta around her. You take a look at Surge, 8-bit, you know, Meg. It's very hard to close the gap on these brawlers because Mina's a space maker, right? And she wants to try and combo these brawlers. It's impossible to combo any of those meta brawlers. And lastly, for the 8 tier, we have Griff. So he's probably the biggest sleeper pick inside of this meta in general because he's received a really nice buff to his, I think, keep the change star power. Essentially now, so what they did with the buffies, they added another row of coins that made him unload his main attack a lot slower. So if anything, made Griff feel a bit worse, but now they've buffed it, so the amount of time it takes to shoot out 3 coin rows, you can shoot out 4, so that means more damage. So Griff is being used a lot more in pro play, but he's kind of limited. He's only really usable in like Brawl Ball, Hot Zone. I mean, he is being played a lot more. I feel like it might be again one of these times where people like the buff with him, but then he's just going to get worse over time. We'll have to see. But he definitely feels a lot better. So those are going to be your A tier brawlers in the meta, and now we're going to be moving on to your S tier brawlers in the meta. So the first one, again, a little bit undecided. It's been like 3 days of the meta, but he feels much better. So Loot in the S tier again could more than likely be A tier, but I just really like this projectile size buff with him. Just feels like you're able to connect shots a lot easier, of course, because it's 20% bigger his projectiles, and that means you're landing more shots, you're getting more super value, you're able just to contain brawlers a lot easier. Again, it could be overrating him here, but he just feels so much better. Next in the S tier, we have Pierce. So Pierce still remains one of the best brawlers inside of the game, and that's just thanks to how much and how easy it is to hit his last shot. It slows, it deals so much damage. Your super just goes through walls, deals so much damage. His hypercharge is still broken. In the right hand, Pierce will still dominate. Next in the S tier, we have Chester. So again, Chester within his own right is still very strong. It might not seem like it just yet because there's so many broken brawlers in the meta, but once those brawlers are nerfed, he's still going to be the same Chester. He's received quite a few nerfs, but they're just like tiny, small, needed nerfs, but I don't think it's going to impact his place in the meta. Next one in S tier, we have Otis. So again, just like Chester, you will feel him being played a lot less than the previous meta, for example. Like every draft for 2 months straight just had Otis and Chester in non-stop. You won't see this now because there's just so many broken brawlers, so they just kind of blow the pecking order a bit, but that doesn't mean they're bad brawlers. They're just waiting for their time to shine again. And the same also goes for Ruffs as well. In pro play, they're still loving Ruffs. In terms of like every region, Ruffs is still like a top 10 pick because his hypercharge rate just got tickled. Like it maybe takes 1 or 2 extra projectiles to build up his hypercharge. He's still going to get his hypercharge by the time he gets his 3rd super. So yeah, he's still a fantastic brawler to have in draft. Next one in S tier, we still have Byron. So it's quite impressive that he's still such a strong brawler inside of the meta. The reason why I really enjoy playing him is because there's still a lot of really good aggressive brawlers to pair a Byron with. You think of all of these top meta brawlers, you can always just go a pocket heal with a Byron. knockout and bounty, you're seeing pretty much everywhere there. Next up in the S tier, we still have Meeple. So Meeple, again, just kind of tickled in with the nerfs. I love the nerf directions, especially with the cooldown and the radius, but I still think the stun is probably a bit too strong. But it's still just too many good things about Meeple. Really strong hypercharge, 2 really strong damage gadgets. The damage still feels too strong on Meeple, and you're still seeing all the pros play Meeple. And the same also goes with Mortis as well. When I spoke about Mortis with his balance changes, I was still under the impression that Mortis would still be really good. Yes, there is a bug right now where he deals less damage with his hypercharge attack, but that's not stopping him from being an S tier brawler. His gadget still feels pretty strong. I know, he's very annoying as an assassin. Next in the S tier, we have Edgar. So get another brawler where he might not feel the strongest completely, you know, with Surge in the meta and all of these damage dealers. But if they're banned out, Edgar just still feels pretty much the same brawler. Yes, it will take him a little bit longer to gain his hypercharge, to constantly abuse his Let's Fly gadget. But once he gets his hypercharge, he still dominates. He just rips for everything. Next in the S tier, we still have Crow, and this is why Crow is receiving another nerf with the balance changes coming pretty soon. They nerfed him quite well in some other categories, but then they buffed his main attack damage by 30%. Obviously, that's not going to really be nerfing Crow. That's just kind of reshifting his just his power. It's literally just reshifting it. But I didn't really want that. I wanted Crow to not be relevant in the meta for once. Please, can this damage nerf actually be useful? Next up in the S tier, we have Lumi. So funny enough, I was like, okay, I'm going to try out the ice gadget, and it looked, I don't know whether it's visually, but it looks bigger than before. So again, I don't know whether it's bugged, but I think even with the ice gadget nerf, I still anticipated Lumi being an S tier brawler inside of the meta, because she still just deals a lot of damage. She's still so good in so many different maps. A super guaranteed to kill every single time. Again, it's just so hard to push into a Lumi. Like, the only brawlers that can really counter are Edgar and Mortis. And lastly, in the S tier, we have Colette. So another brawler which I anticipated being strong even after the nerfs. She's still that strong, but they're nerfing the charm in the next set of balance changes in the next week or so. But for now, she just definitely is an S tier brawler. Yes, there's a few interaction changes which definitely make her seem a lot more manageable, but it's still Colette. That gadget is so strong. So those are your S tier brawlers inside of the meta, and as you've probably guessed it, there are S plus a lot of them inside of this meta. It is, I don't know, it's code red right now. It's that bad that even Supercell themselves have been like, oh, okay, after 2 days, it's quite clear that these brawlers need big nerfs. Yes, it is that bad. Yes, everyone complains about metas from time to time, but this is probably the worst one it's been for literally this year. So I'm glad there's going to be some nerfs. So, but anyways, let's go into the first one, which is Meg. So these brawlers are basically as good as each other. They're all disgustingly strong, and Meg is so strong. Let's just talk about why she's strong. She's got 2 incredibly strong gadgets, especially since the reworks of both of them very, very powerful. Also, I think her star power, I forgot which one it is, but it got reworked, and you heal every time you hit your super, and you steal an ammo. That's really powerful. Her hypercharge buff is insane. Her hypercharge hypercharge rate is insane. She just wrecks everybody. So next up, we have Brock, and Brock is by far the best brawler, well, one of the best brawlers easily, in terms of knockout and bounty. Heist as well, he's insane. That's for a few reasons. You've got his star power buffy, which is getting nerfed, thankfully, where you can snipe people every 4 seconds. That was definitely overkill. You've also got his rework super, where he can easily get kills now with it. You've also got his rocket fuel gadget, which is just disgustingly broken. It's got a knockback added onto it. Once it hits a wall, it splits off. It's just so strong. And then you got Brock's hypercharge buffy as well, which is very good as well. There's so much to like about Brock. The next brawler who's an S plus right now has to be Star Nova. So again, I hate to say that I'm right, but I'm always right in terms of Star Nova. She definitely was underrated upon release, but as time went on, the meta changes. She got stronger and stronger. Towards the end of the last meta, she was creeping into the S tier, and then for whatever reason, she received a lot of buffs, and that just made her an insanely powerful brawler. It's so hard to stop Star Nova right now. Thankfully, she is receiving a big damage buff in like a week, so I'll be glad once that hits. But yeah, she's just so versatile. Once you get within range, Star Nova, she's just going to kill you because her main attack's so easy to hit. And now, because they buffed her health and her super damage, she's a really big threat as an assassin, so it's hard to deal with her. So next up in the S tier, S plus tier, we have Max. Max Funny enough, he's a little bit bugged right now, but once those bugs are fixed, Max is going to be so strong. I don't think Max is receiving any nerfs as well, crazy enough. But yeah, let's talk about why Max is so strong. Both gadgets are really powerful. You've got 2 invulnerability frames now with Max, which is just broken. Both star power buffies are very powerful. Max, I think it's just how fast she cycles through super. If you guys didn't know, they now made it so it's a trait. Just like Bolt, when you move, you get your super. So just like Max's old star power, it's literally a trait now. So of course she's going to be gaining supers a lot easier now. And then if you add on her hypercharge super, you just farm through supers so fast. And then you got the hypercharge buffy, which gives... It's just supers galore. And that's just... You're just never not sped up by Max. Next up in the S plus tier, we have Bolt. So I was a little bit surprised that he didn't receive any further nerfs, especially when all the brawlers around him are receiving nerfs. Maybe I'm overrating him a tiny bit, but I think he's easily still an S tier brawler inside of the meta. So with Bolt, you can easily use, like, both star powers are really good. I feel like his knockback star power is incredibly overlooked right now. I've always enjoyed that one. He's still got his super that can deal a lot of damage. His hypercharge isn't anything great, but it's just, you get so much pressure on Bolt. He's got so many cheese combinations as well. You can use him everywhere. He's still a menace. Okay, so now we're jumping into the top 3 brawlers inside of a game right now. This is no debate, and you can probably swap them in any order, but they're just a big 3 right now. I've gone with 8-bit. So 8-bit is just so broken right now. And yes, he's receiving quite a few nerfs, but I think he deserves more. So let me talk about my few biggest pain points after doing my research. I think there's a few things that are very annoying. Yes, they are nerfing his gadget buffy. So basically when it rebounds off people, it deals 75% less damage. Now it's been nerfed to 60%, but that's not the biggest issue. I think actually the biggest issue is the fundamental rework of extra credits. Because with 8-bit, you can easily just use 1 ammo and then use your extra credits at the same time. What this was supposed to do with 8-bit was allow you to, I don't know, with extra credits, you couldn't interrupt your attack. So that felt nice, but basically what I'm trying to say is when brawlers push into you, you can just pop your main attack ammo and your extra credits at the same time, and you just rip through everything. That's a big problem. I mean, I don't think that was intended. That what they probably intended was, okay, you shoot 1 ammo to the left, extra credits to the right, and you kind of just chipping away enemies. No, you can just literally delete people at point blank range. So I think that's the one thing that needs to be fixed first and foremost. How they fix that, they probably just need to nerf the cooldown duration of extra credits by quite a substantial amount. Yeah, they're nerfing the boosters buffy, which is a great nerf because you had unlimited ammo with 8-bit and your teammates as well. So that's great. I think his hype charge buffy is very broken. At first, I was like, okay, maybe this is a little bit overrated because after trying it out of the dev build, it just didn't feel as powerful. But after trying it out in the real game, it's very broken. I've got so many triple kills with it. It's ridiculous. So yeah, let's get a few more nerfs with 8-bit. So now jumping into the second best brawler inside of a game right now. I had him as my best when the update dropped, but that was mainly because I was just getting absolutely terrorized by Damien inside of ranks. But he's still easily a top 3 brawler inside of a game because right now, again, I don't know whether it's a bug. We'll see with the update. He's not receiving a nerf, so I'm going to guess that it's a bug because why wouldn't you then revert this? Because basically with Damien, you can try it out in training cave, but it happens in the real game as well. Is whenever you want to combo your attacks, your unload is, I don't know whether it's instant, but it's way faster than before the update. So you're just able to, it's especially when you get your second and third shot and then you knock them back, but it's especially when you're like jumping in onto players, you can just combo your punches way quicker. It means you're shredding people way faster when you're super onto them. Before, you had to be quite I mean, Damien still was a very strong brawler, but you still had to be a little bit tactical with how you use your super. Now, it's just the same. It's the Damien from old. You can just jump onto anyone, combo them, and they're dead. So, yeah, Damien is up, like, insanely broken, and I really hope that this is a bug. So now moving into, I think, by far the best brawler inside of a game right now. It has to be Surge. But I can't believe... Well, I can believe. It was very obvious with the buffies, but I also... I'm lost for words how broken this brawler is. After playing him a few times myself, I was like, this is literally a cheat code. This feels like, when I'm playing Surge, it should be an S++ tier, actually. I feel like I should redo this tier list. He's way better than every brawler in the game, because the crazy thing is that I know it takes a little while to get his hypercharge, but I can't believe his hypercharge super has that range. Yes, it's getting nerfed, but it's just some next level disgusting range. And then you got the power shield gadget, which when someone hits you, you get another one in 9 seconds, which is insane. But it's just a fact that when you land onto someone, you basically get like another super straight away because of the hypercharge super. And then the hypercharge buffy means you get an extra ammo and it splits. I was under the impression that they kind of reworked it so it doesn't split anymore. It still splits. So then you're just hopping onto one brawler, onto the next brawler. It's like you're playing leapfrog. It's like you're literally Miko at this point. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it feels like I'm playing mutations. It feels like I'm playing the new nano powers, whatever they're called, because of how broken he is. It's ridiculous. So I'm glad they're nerfing him a couple of times, but it's definitely not enough. We need to be nerfing his hypercharge buffy. I think we need to be nerfing. I think it needs a big, substantial nerf. Whether it's even his damage, his supercharge rate, his super damage. He needs some big nerfs. I know what people are saying. They'll want to be nerfing the buffies, but I don't think they'll nerf the buffies at all. Because I don't know how they're going to, without completely reworking his hypercharge buffy, for example. They're probably just going to nerf his base kit. I mean, it's better than nothing, right? It's better than leaving Surge how broken he is. Anyways, I've rambled on for 2 minutes about how broken he is. Everyone knows how broken he is. But that's going to be it for today's video. Here's the tier list on the screen. Let me know what you think of the tier list. So this is a lot sooner than I like to post my tier list because I like to gather a lot more data. I like to normally watch a few tournaments, but I have watched Brawl League and I have looked at a lot of pro data. So I think this is still pretty accurate. But again, after these balance changes, I probably have to do another one. I mean, I will be on a vacation around that time, so probably won't be able to do a tier list until like maybe a week after those balances drop. But anyways, this is the tier list for now. I think it's very solid. Definitely could be wrong on a few things, especially there's been so many balance changes. I'm bound to be wrong on a couple of things, but pretty accurate for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.